Hey y'all, just come from a really cool ride today, making the most of autumn, getting out some fresh air, getting onto the road, some peace and tranquility, really groovy stuff. But while riding my bike I got to thinking about knowledge and about wisdom, and of course how we work through our life. Also thought about the great thing Nelson Mandela said, and he said, stupidity will multiply if wise people are silent. Isn't that quite profound? Well, I got to thinking today that isn't it fascinating that we spend so much time in life being taught IQ and EQ, but never been taught WQ or wisdom. When we're young, from when we're born till we're about 5, there's a heavy focus on IQ and perhaps a bigger focus on EQ, as your parents and your caregivers and your siblings, if you had any, try to integrate you into the family unit and into your peers and society when you're young. So a lot of focus on the EQ side, a little bit on the IQ. Yes, you were taught some technical skills. You were taught how to tie your shoelaces, how to play with Lego, maybe how to build puzzles, how to color in, how to draw. Few technical skills, but mostly the focus was on EQ. Then of course you go into your primary school years, say grade RR or grade naught or whatever it may be called in your space. And when you get there, they teach you about IQ all the way through school. How to acquire knowledge, how to acquire information, how to learn, how to assimilate, and then how to reproduce and present that data. And you get examined on how proficient you are in this IQ space. In fact, it all culminates in your grade 12 or matric year, where you write your final exams, which now determine how proficient you are. Yes, a little bit of focus on EQ at school, and it's more about what you shouldn't be doing, what is unacceptable behavior. Remember, you got punished for everything you did wrong when you were at school. And there was a little bit of recognition for EQ. So you maybe got presented with a prefect or counselor's badge or put into a leadership role at school. And that was a recognition of perhaps your more advanced emotional state and your EQ level. Then you leave school and perhaps you went to college or university or furthered your academic career. And the focus was 100% on IQ. Information, data, knowledge, and of course representation of all that data. And you had first year, second year, third year, so they actually escalated the level of IQ to which you needed to achieve a result. And you wrote exams mid-year, end of the year, mid-year, end of the year, mid-year, end of the year. So you were tested on your IQ, but nowhere in that space did they teach you any EQ skills or any emotional skills or how to integrate, how to behave. Yes, the universities and academic institutions have a code of conduct, and you can't behave outside of that code of conduct. But the focus was primarily on IQ, data, knowledge, assimilation. Great stuff. And of course we need it. Then you leave there and you go into the workspace. And what happens in the workspace? If you did a medical degree, you probably did an internship. If you did an accounting degree or a lawyer's degree or whatever you might have done, you may have had an apprenticeship or an internship or some form of integration into the company that you're now going to work for. But that integration was about how to apply your knowledge and data, how to apply your IQ. Because isn't that what it's all about? Isn't it about going to a company, applying your knowledge, and making profits and bottom line? And isn't that what determines your success? Well, clearly not for us. But you get in there, and from the ages of about 22, 21, somewhere around there, up until about 30, real focus on knowledge and more gathering of information and more learning and more output of knowledge. And your output, in fact, was determined, and your success was determined by what knowledge you could operationalize in that space. It's around about 30 to 35, you were identified as having the capability of perhaps becoming a leader or getting to a leadership role or to manage other people, the company would then focus a little bit on developing your EQ. So they would do psychometric tests with you, and they would put you on various courses, and you would engage in the world of how to behave. And they would teach you how to behave in that culture of the business that you're in. If you weren't one of those people, of course, you were left to continue moving in the RQ space. And these people are massive contributors to an organization or a sports team or wherever they applied their skill sets. Massive. So through work, your focus was on RQ, 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 then a bit on EQ, and then you get to around about 35 to 40 years old, and you've now developed the EQ space. So your RQ is great and your EQ is great. And now you're getting to the stage in your career where you want to transfer some of that knowledge and some of what you've learned and your experience. And how do you do that? Has any organization or team that you've been in actually taught you about wisdom? You know the old saying, the wise old man. Well, we don't believe that you need to be old to be wise. You can start acquiring wisdom from a very, very young age. And I still find it very fascinating that in today's age and our vast gaps in generations and the escalation in technology and this massive growth curve globally, and we're all trying to keep up and we're all trying to adapt and we're all trying to move forward, that very, very few institutions are focusing on the development of wisdom as a culture, inside the organization, as teams, and for the individuals. So of course we get asked the question often when we have this discussion. So isn't knowledge and wisdom the same thing? Now categorically we say no, it is not the same thing. Let's unpack it a little bit. And I'm going to use some examples because I was thinking about it while I was out for a ride today. About riding a motorbike and what RQ is compared to what WQ is from a wisdom space. So you can go out and be taught the skills to ride a motorbike. In fact, you test it with your learner's license and then your practical riding license as to what your skill set is to be able to ride the motorbike. In fact, there's a little bit of EQ taught as well in terms of what you can and can't do on the road. So how to behave in that space. So your RQ space and a bit of your EQ space is developed for you to be able to ride this beast of a machine. Now you get out on the road. You've got all the information you need, you've got the data, you've learnt it, you've practiced it. Now you put it into an operational space and you go out there and you ride. But what's the difference between a great or legacy rider and somebody who can just ride? It's wisdom. Riding well and being safe and enjoying your space and having respect for others comes through wisdom. And wisdom is about how to anticipate what is going to happen in the environment around you. How do you know what the people around you that you share in that space are going to do? That cannot be taught to you through RQ or EQ. It's about wisdom. It's about your thinking. It's about how you apply all of these skill sets in the world around you. I enjoy my riding and people often ask me, have you fallen off a motorbike? Of course I've fallen off when I was young. But now I've learned to ride with wisdom. So I've learned to ride, to anticipate my environment, to respect the people around me, to have knowledge and humility of understanding that they may not think the same as I do. And in that environment, I've managed to stay on top of this machine and to enjoy my riding so much more. Another great example I can use, the difference between knowledge and wisdom, is let's say you buy a firearm, and it's quite a heated debate around firearms, and we have these discussions around the table quite often. If you buy a firearm, knowledge is knowing how to use it. And you may be an excellent marksman. You may be the most brilliant person in terms of the technical skills with that weapon that you own. But wisdom is knowing when to use it and when to holster it. And that's the difference between the two. Right, so knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. So what's the difference between the two? So knowledge is the information gained through learning, experience, reasoning, or acquisition. Right, that's knowledge, data and information. Wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to discern or judge what is true, right, or lasting. Furthermore, it's the capacity to continually learn, adapt, and change oneself and the world for the better. It's the ability to discern, to judge what is true, right, and lasting. Can we have knowledge without wisdom? Yes, of course. Can we have wisdom without knowledge? No, you can't. You need to have knowledge to be able to have wisdom. But knowledge can exist without wisdom. Fantastic to chat with you again today, and hopefully we've given you some things to think about. Primarily, and let's be frank, why are we not being taught or acquiring wisdom throughout our life? Join us for our next scene where we chat about good, great, and legacy and the difference between all of them and where wisdom plays its part. Hope to see you soon. Have a groovy day. Keep two wheels on the road. Take care.